You are among the blessed. You have been chosen by God to compete for righteous glory. 8 other champions will enter, but there can only be one MoY. And now, introducing your host, Jake, the gluten-free careless.
What is up, my homies? Welcome into the MoY Ploy. I'm Jake, the gluten-free careless, and I am joined tonight by not one, but 2 cucks. What's up, boys?
What's up?
Peter, you want to welcome into the...
MoY Ploy!
Alrighty. We got Lamb and Fish Gerald on with us today. What's good, man?
What's good? Hey, thanks for having me. Hopefully I can be a regular. Love
I would love that.
podcast. So,
I would love if you come on a bit more. Yeah, absolutely, dude. So, Brett and I were talking earlier, and he said, I would love to get on the podcast, but I got to get a couple wins. Peter is sniffing that $20 bet, said, Brett, get in here. I want you to talk that shit, man. All right, so let's get straight into it. Why waste time when you're listening to this podcast, so you're wasting time. All right, we're going to go and take a look at last week's scoreboard, week 8. Heartbreaking loss and the closeout on the season for myself. It's over, baby. It's over. The worst fantasy football season I have literally ever had. Ended here by the second worst team in the league. Feels bad. And literally, if I had made any other decision on who I was benching, I would have won. That's just how the season's going for me. Next up, we had the hapless only commish can stop me. That's apparently not true. Getting dominated by the highest score I think we've ever seen, don't you think?
Disgusting. Absolutely smoked.
I mean, let's talk about some of these standout performers you had on this team.
No QBs. My QBs weren't even shining. Christian McCaffrey popping off for over 40. AJ Brown.
I mean, he had to throw a passing touchdown. That's got to count, right?
6 points in this league, so it was spicy. It just felt great. But Brent put up a great fight. It was going to be a tough go. Yeah, Brent Ent put up a great fight. He put up 183. And again, if he's playing some other people, he picks up the dub. I feel like it's really been hit or miss on who you're playing week to week.
Actually, no. There's only 2 other teams that he could have played against and gotten the dub with his score.
Okay.
Myself and Eddie. Everyone else was 190 or higher. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 teams over 200 this week. It was a crazy week of fantasy scoring, and Eddie and I were a part of none of it.
But
I will
Brent,
say only getting better with Christian McCaffrey being a Niner now.
Yeah.
And that's huge for your team, Cheater.
40, Cheater.
40 points coming out in week 2, and Pollard. I mean, who knows what will happen with Zeke? That's kind of ebbing and flowing. To kind of look forward a little bit, I know we'll get there, but kind of funny that you're doing the double lion in the running back spot.
Isn't that wild?
Oh, calling him out. Calling him out. That is wild.
I have Cordell Patterson. I think he might come back this week, so that's who I'm really playing. But for the sake of our,
and also, are you really excited to start any of these other options over Jamal Williams? I wouldn't be.
Oh, no.
All right, let's keep it. Oh, dude, they're hitting hard this week. Let's keep it rolling. We've got the Fandalorian versus the Rat Pack. This one was the game of the week. And the Fandalorian keeps the door open for the bottom boys, and someone is in position to strike.
Rat smacked.
Oh, the rat smack.
He got rat smacked. Your dad talked trash. And you know who looks like a fool is me, because I did say your dad's scoring would fall off. And
he needs one more win, and he is locked into the playoffs,
locked.
baby.
I am wrong. This will be the greatest season of all time if your dad gets top 4 scoring. He will buck the trend. He will make me a believer.
So
Okay.
seven wins gets you in, locked and loaded?
More or less. I think in this league with these two teams in particular, myself and Eddie being so bad, it's very possible that there are multiple 7-6 teams because we seem to be quite bottom loaded with 3 very bad teams in Brent, Eddie, and myself, and that leaves a potential 3-way tie at 7-6 as a very real possibility where only 2 of those 3 teams will get in. So there could be a 7-6 team on the outs. These tiebreakers, every single point is going to matter coming into on the home field stretch for this postseason. And then we have a absolutely, Brett, I've thrown a lot of shade your way. Bro, props. Tickling the bottom of 260. That is a feat. Yeah, dude. That's nuts. Taylor Heineke. I was like, this guy's starting Taylor Heineke. No fucking chance against the number 1 tee. And I traded away Devonta Foreman, which got him 32 points. Bro, doesn't matter. The boys showed up. Touchdowns on touchdowns on touchdowns. Well done this week, man. I don't think you had hardly any duds in your starting roster at all. Yeah, your worst was Herbert, Tyler Higbee, and Pat Freiermuth. I mean, who would have thought that starting 2 tight ends was a mistake? But
I was about to go 3 tight ends as I was.
I mean, you literally had no one on your bench though that you could play. Every single one is injured, suspended, or bye-weeked. It's just how it goes sometimes, man.
Yeah.
It was Khalil Herbert or Tyler Higbee, and I don't know if you can bench Herbert anymore. Like, he's red hot right now. He's getting, he doesn't have a high snap share, but when he's in, he's getting the ball. And when he's getting the ball, he's good. Like, his average yards per carry in these games are pretty wild when you just go down the line here.
Oh, yeah.
He does a good job of finding the end zone, too, which finally Kamara figured out that he liked finding the end zone again. So that helped out with the 40-point performance.
It's been wild watching Kamara not get into the end zone at all this season until this was his first touchdown of the season. What an outlier. Go ahead, Pigu.
I got to say, Brett is poised to make a run. And this is interesting now because I don't feel safe. I may have the best record in the league, but I don't feel safe. If Brett's going to start putting up 260s or 200 burgers, he's got Mahomes clicking right now. So many things are going right. And then I know we're going to talk later about what Ray's doing in this league. The top 5 people should all feel very uncomfortable over the next 6 weeks because I think someone has to fall.
Someone's got to fall. Speaking of Ray, we're going to talk some trades in the art of the steal. I know trades. I've got all the best trades. Believe me, no one's got better trades than me.
But Jake, whose world is it? And are we just living in it?
That's a great question. I think it belongs to
Ray's World, traffic rate starts to take.
All right, we are going to go into the recent activity. We've got a huge trade to break down here, and I want to hear both of your guys' opinions. We have got Ray and Brent. Brent has been involved in some very shady deals this year, possibly another one here. All right, we have got Brent trading away the absolutely beastly Tyreek Hill. This dude has 4 weeks over 150 receiving yards. He has 4 weeks over 25 points, and only one of those weeks does he even have a touchdown in. So he doesn't need touchdowns to score more than 25 points. This dude is putting up 150 on the regular. He sends away Tyreek Hill, Jerry Jeudy, Devin Singletary. And in return, he gets some help so he sends away 2 wide receivers and a running back, and he gets a running back in Joe Mixon, a quarterback in Daniel Jones, and a wide receiver in Curtis Samuel. All right, boys, let's break it down. Who won this trade? Who lost this trade? What were these two teams thinking? Pigu, let's hear your thoughts first.
All right. I was gonna let Brett share, but here we go. I am in favor of Ray on this trade. I don't think enough was, in my opinion. I felt like Brett could have gotten more for Tyreek Hill and Devin Singletary, who's in a
You
great
got to
setup.
really enunciate the ent.
Brent and could have and should have gotten a little more juice. I still think it's a passable trade. I like Joe Mixon's usage. I know he's not like a metrics darling this year. I like Daniel Jones as a he's got to prove it this year because he's in a contract year. So he's gonna play his heart out every week, and he's fantasy viable. I don't know. I don't like the trade, but I also maybe just am feeling like a fool that I didn't reach out and see if Tyreek was available. I would have thought Tyreek was untouchable because he was such a value in the draft.
Yeah, I think those are some very good thoughts. Brett, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I think it's easy to say that Tyreek's the best player in the trade, and so kind of immediately lean towards Ray winning the trade. At first, when I was reading it, I was just like, wow, how does Tyreek move? Something's got to be happening under the table here. But then when I look back at it, I mean, like Mixon's underperformed in the first half of the year, and with Jamar Chase being out for an extended period of time, there could be some value to be had there. Curtis Samuel can pop. He did at least at the beginning of the year. Hasn't shown much since. It's tough to let go of Tyreek. I mean, that's a guy who can get you 30, 40 points. So I think Tyreek wins the trade for sure, but we'll see how it plays out. Who knows?
I agree. And this is one of those things where trades always look a certain way on the day of the trade, and they can look very different in 2 weeks. Take the Marquise Brown for Ramondre Stevenson trade. Looked like I got swindled. Turns out I did the swindling. All right, I've got a take on this trade. I think if we look at some of the context here, let's take a look at Brent Tent's roster. That is not the roster. Sorry, I thought I opened to that. All right, Brent Tent's roster here. Before Joe Mixon was added, he had Devin Singletary in this slot. I think when you consider that Joe Mixon's one of his big touchdown threats in Jamar Chase is going to be sidelined for 4 to 6 weeks, that you have to factor that in. I don't think you can expect the same ho-hum Joe Mixon usage where he hasn't been getting a massive volume of carries in the last 4 weeks, whereas they've really shifted from a run-first team into a pass-first team in the last 4 weeks. And I think you could also see some of these targets go up and more receptions as he's, kind of been staying the same, kind of 7-3-3-4. And then in the second, as they switched from a run-first to more of a pass-happy, 3-4-3-7, like literally the exact same numbers. I think you could see these spike over the next couple weeks, some of these receptions here. I think you could see some of these carries go up. What I don't like about this Joe Mixon trade is that the bye week in week 10, if I'm Brent, am trading for people who are past their buys. And I'm trading 90 cents on the dollar for guys who are past their buys in the hopes that I can string it together and just get lucky. Because literally one loss and he's done. And I look at this Curtis Samuel for Jerry Jeudy, that's pretty close in my eyes. And I think if you look at the other part of the trade, Devin Singletary for Daniel Jones, I probably prefer Daniel Jones over Devin Singletary. So it's really Tyreek for Joe. And I think, give me the Tyreek side. I give it to Ray by a decent margin because I just think Tyreek is a difference maker. I think Joe Mixon has a chance, though, to buck the trends with Jamar Chase being out.
Is Danny Dimes past the bye week? Or because
that's a good question.
If I remember correctly, Brent has 2 quarterbacks better.
Currently on bye week, this week coming up. Okay. So, wah.
Would he even be startable, though? If go back to the roster? Because he had Jalen Hurts and somebody else that was significantly better.
Oh, Ray's got Jalen Hurts.
Oh, okay.
I think Ray's got Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen. Brent is rocking Kirk Cousins, Zach Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
Anything to get Zach Wilson out of that roster lineup, dude.
Yeah.
So the other was another trade that was highly questionable, and that went down between myself and Zach. I give up Jamar Chase and Devonta Foreman and receive Chris Olave. This was like I'm getting 60 and giving up 100 trade. I knew that. I was trying to trade Jamar Chase for 90 cents on the dollar. No takers whatsoever. I was trying to trade him for 80 cents on the dollar. No takers whatsoever. I offered him to Zach for 70 cents on the dollar. Wasn't interested. He actually turned me down after I offered him Devonta Foreman and Jamar Chase. He turned me down and said he wanted to give me Juju or some other scrub that was even worse off his team. And I offered Jamar Chase to a bunch of different people. I shopped him. I had to get rid of him. A single loss and I was done. Hindsight being 2020, Jamar Chase for Olave is more than fair. Should have stuck with my guns and just bullied him into it. And not tried to throw in Devonta Foreman, who I thought I was selling high on. Turns out the dude's a freaking beast. And if I'd kept him, my season's still alive. But I am currently in the pits of despair because of my own stupidity and knee-jerk reactions. I don't think there's been any other trades we really need to worry about. There was the one where I traded Jamar Chase for Tyreek Hill, and Brent texted me and says, "Hey, I didn't mean to click accept. Please take it back." I'm pretty sure he's like, "Oh, absolutely. Smash accept. Oh, shoot, Jamar Chase is injured. My bad. I didn't look before I clicked accept. Kamish, I didn't mean to do that. Could you please undo that?" This is not the first trade that we've seen Brent try to back his way out of this season even. This seems to be an annual occurrence. Now it's a multi-time occurrence this year. I don't think anyone's surprised by the shady moves by Brent 1010. I don't think there's really anything else to talk about. There hasn't been any big deals.
Yeah. Check out those standings.
Yeah, I think we roll in the standings. What's up?
I think it's important to remember, when you see a team that's only taking on suspended and injured players, maybe offer them Jamar Chase. I didn't remember getting a text message.
Oh yeah, there's I didn't shop to any of the teams that needed to win because frankly I didn't think they were going to pay me what I was looking to get paid. So there were I didn't really go after Ray. Knowing his philosophy, I should have gone after Ray. I think Ray would have paid me more for Jamar Chase. But I made it known that I was shopping Jamar Chase, but I didn't really get any offers from these bottom teams because they couldn't afford to carry him the way that these top teams could. So that's who I targeted. Anyway, let's get to the standings. Enough about how I've completely ruined my own fantasy season, please. All right. Top of the division. Well, there's only one division. Top of the league. Take a bow. Take a bow, friend.
I'm back, baby.
Back-to-back years at the top of the league. That's got to feel good, man.
2 years ago, I was in this position and I tanked. I fell into the toilet bowl. I went on a hot losing streak, and that was it.
True. And you know what?
Never safe. Never feel safe.
I'm not going to lie. I think that could happen to you again. I don't like Michael Pittman this year anymore.
I don't either.
I think the Detroit Lions, their offense could be even worse if it seems like the TJ Hawkinson trade was baffling. He's got a full year left on his contract. You're not even going to try and win next year. You're already tanking next year as well. Is that is that what we're seeing from Detroit? It didn't make any sense that they're going to trade him in division for a guy that has 2 years left on his contract. At least see how next season goes before you make that exact same deal. And it's not even like they swindled Minnesota out of a whole bunch of picks. They basically traded a 2 for a 3. They did a swap. Because they got it was like a 2-4 swap. Plus TJ Hawkinson is essentially, if you break the trade down and balance it, that's how it worked out. TJ Hawkinson in a 4th for a 2nd round pick. That is asinine. That's some some super dipshittery. If you ask, that's Jamar Chase and Devonta Foreman for Chris Olave type stupid. I mean,
should pay off. It should pay off for you though, Peter. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown should benefit from the few extra targets.
I agree, but he's also sitting on 3 pieces of a Detroit offense that just got worse. I expect we're in like shutting DeAndre Swift down for the year territory if he gets banged up again, because it's clearly a permanent rebuild for the Detroit Lions. Like, why would they risk serious injury to DeAndre Swift when they can just feed Jamal Williams? That would honestly be better for you because Jamal Williams has been just fine without DeAndre Swift.
Love it.
But like looking at your bench here, Allen Robinson, Romeo Doubs, Isaiah McKenzie, players I do not want in my starting lineup. Your starting lineup is fantastic. Chris McCaffrey, Joe Burrow, George Kittle. Even Alan Lazard's been very serviceable. We'll see what Kadarius Toney has to offer. I love that you snagged him. Cordell Patterson coming back from IR this week. That could be great. He's got a fantastic matchup against the Chargers here. But I don't know. I don't know if your team is super deep. It's certainly not super elite at quarterback by any means.
No, it's not. I don't have the elite quarterback tandem, and honestly, the team.
You're like
right now,
1 or 2 injuries away from just absolute desperation. You've made the playoffs, but you're 1 or 2 injuries away from just getting just absolutely bounced, like steamrolled in the playoffs, because these other teams are coming at you with heat right now.
There might still be time to make deals if people are out there.
There might still be time to make deals, and I love being in your position where you can leverage the people who need to win to get in. Mm-hmm. You can hit up Ray, you can hit up Brett, you can start betting these people over for 80-10, 70-10, or 80-100, 70-100 trades, you know?
On the dollar, yeah.
So here's a question for the new guys in the league, and we've had a little bit of conversation about this in
you're like podcasts. One of the 3 new guys, so are you asking yourself too?
Yeah, I'm asking. Yeah, this is a question for my friend, me. So we talk about like consistency versus pop, and when I look at Peter's lineup, I see kind of pop with AJ Brown and Amon-Ra and Dalvin, and that's pretty much it from a pop standpoint. Like consistency, there's a little bit there, but when you guys are getting ready for the playoffs, like.
Does that strategy change?
Yeah, does that strategy change?
You want to get the pop. You want the pop. You want as much pop as possible for the playoff.
Our playoffs are different in that it's a 2-week matchup. So it's a week 14 and week 15 combined, and whoever scores the most points on those 2 weeks combined gets to move on. So generally, you can afford to risk a lower floor because it's a 2-week matchup. And so if someone gets 5 points one week and then 35 points the next week and they average 20 points over the 2, that's better than someone who averages 15 points and 15 points, you know. Yeah. So the consistency is nice, especially if maybe your high ceiling guys have got 2 bad matchups in a row. It's just, and honestly, it doesn't change a ton from the regular season. You just go out there and try and field your best team. But I love having high ceiling. I think you need high ceiling in order to win the league.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't see it on this team, even though the team's 7-1. So I mean, well, McCaffrey's down on the bench.
Spicy.
McCaffrey's down on the bench, and Joe Burrow would be starting above Trevor Lawrence, I guess, which is funny because that's your namesake. But
I know, but we'll see. We'll see about Joe. I'm not even sure who to go with my QBs this week, and I got great matchups for Trevor and Geno. So,
yep. All right. So we don't want to spend the entire time talking about a guy who's literally making the podcast. What they want to hear about is themselves. So let's talk about Z-Warren, Juju on my chub. I'm still deeply disturbed by that name. Sorry, my baby monitor keeps popping off, and I think it's the dryer. It just keeps triggering my baby monitor. Z-Warren's team is stacked.
Stupid
Stacked. And it just got even worse for everybody else. I mean, like, we're taking out guys like Michael Carter, who I think their ceiling has gone way up after the Breece Hall injury. And we're, like, Nick Chubb, Devonta Foreman's shown huge skill. Like, this team is deep. It's got upside on the bench, Cortland Sutton on the bench, Jamar Chase on the bench. Alec Pierce, Chase Claypool's getting a fresh start in Chicago. I think he could actually get some targets. Now, it seems like Chicago's figuring out that Justin Fields shouldn't just be stuck in a pocket behind a terrible O-line. Maybe we can mitigate the bad O-line by having him roll out and use his strengths by having him roll out. Who would have thought? I don't know, literally the entire world besides the Chicago coaching staff until last week. All right, enough about flaming Chicago. They flame themselves pretty hard. I like Z-Warren's team. I think he is still stacked. I think he's a lock to make the playoffs. I don't think there's too much to say. The dude is still number one in scoring. Coming up, the second 6-2 team, the Fandalorian. Honestly, probably, I wouldn't call him a fraudulent 6-2, being fourth in the league in scoring. I think Ray's a fraudulent 4-4 team at this moment, where I think his record should be better than 4-4 with how much he's scoring. Unfortunately, Ray is number 2 in points against this year, just getting some bad breaks. Brett, I want to hear how you see your season, as you are currently third from the bottom in scoring, yet you are very much in the hunt. What do you think you need to do to get into the playoffs?
Yeah, before I answer that, I'll just go back to your dad real quick, which is I've never not known a man and also loved him and hated him so much. Like, even though I've never met him, I've never even seen his face, I couldn't pick him out of a crowd. I mean, I guess he would maybe look something like you.
Yeah,
but,
like an uglier version of me.
Yeah, but I've never, so week 2 or week 3, I've joined the league, trying to make new friends, having fun. We're all degenerate fantasy football players. It's fun. We're having a good time. And I'm getting these text messages shit-talking from your dad in the group chat. And I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Oh, it's Jake's dad. I got to be respectful. And then he just blasts me. I'm like, fuck this guy. And then I'm so pissed. I'm like, I'm going to beat you, blah, blah, blah. Oh no, Tua puts up a 50 burger. I get my ass kicked. And of course, that is self-proclaimed MoY.
All right, non-stop MoY. And all right, something I need to highlight. At some point, it's no longer a coincidence that my dad always has the lowest points against in the league. I think there is an element of psychological warfare that causes his opponents to mismanage their teams when they're going up against Todd Harris.
I agree.
I think there's some truth there. I think there's some actual strategy and defense going on in his, because it's been like 4 years in a row of him being like the lowest or second lowest points against. I don't see how you could call it anything else besides, like, it's not just a coincidence. This is a correlation at some point,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can confirm. I mean, he's deeply ingrained in my head. Yeah.
All right. So
back to your question, I got in the draft breakdown. I got told pretty significantly that my draft strategy was lacking. I think I took a lot of Cowboys and a lot of Niners, which definitely didn't pay off early with Trey Lance's injury and with the injury to Dak. But I think both of those teams are on the rise with Garoppolo adding some stability and then McCaffrey coming in. Those offenses are explosive. QB2 is very soft, but all in all, I think the team is starting to figure itself out with Hopkins coming back. He looks like he's still taking the Beaver steroids. So we should be able to figure it out.
Yeah, dude, the Beaver Killer. One of the more obscure references. Fantastic reference, by the way. All right. What I see on your team here is I actually see a lot of upside in that. Upside in Khalil Herbert. If something happens to David Montgomery, potential top 8 running back right here in Khalil Herbert. I see quite a bit of upside here with San Francisco. Again, what I don't love about your Super San Francisco wide receiver stack is the only thing that really benefits you for both of these guys would be like a George Kittle injury. Has been known to happen. So I think a Kittle injury really sets both of these receivers up for big roles. Deshaun Watson is eventually going to be playing football and getting massages again sometime later this season. So you've got some upside. You've got some very, very real upside. What I don't love about your team, starting guys like Tyler Algier, starting guys like Antonio Gibson, when your wide receiver 3 is like Jacoby Myers. Jacoby's been overperforming this year. I honestly don't think he's going to keep this up. And I like the Tyler Boyd add-on. I think that's a great, with Jamar Chase going out, I think that's a great move. Darren Waller sucked this year. Tyler Higbee has, done his Higbee thing where he baits you into starting him over and over again and then just like puts up single digits. I think this is probably what you can expect for the rest of the way because the Rams were trying to target him and it wasn't working. They were losing games. I think you're going to see them continue to move away from targeting Tyler Higbee. And they're getting guys like Van Jefferson back. They're going to only add more and more weapons. I would imagine OBJ is probably looking to come back at some point. Will Fuller's still out there looking, trying to tank Tyler Higbee's value. There's still some very real threats to the Rams receiving core. But yeah, I like your team. I think there's like a couple of holes that you would need to grab off of waivers or something. A couple things would need to break your way for you to make a super serious playoff push. But in order for you to get to the playoffs before that can even happen, I think it's important to recognize that I don't think you can end up in a tie.
Yeah, my points 4, I'm going to be losing. So I guess I would have to finish in the top 4. And if
you're probably going to have to finish. Either things are going to have to break your way, and there can't be 2 teams at 7 and 6. Maybe Ray falls off and goes 6 and 7, or one of these 2 6 and 2 teams just falls apart and loses out for the rest of the season. Possible, seen it happen. Or you're going to have to go 8 and 5. So I think you're in a must-win every single week, fighting for your life in this situation. Let's see what I'm curious.
Hey, good. Real quick, Brett literally controls his own destiny.
Yeah, exactly.
He runs through literally everyone he needs to beat over the next couple of weeks. He plays your dad. He plays Ray. He plays me. He plays Z-Warn. It's literally like it's not an easy.
That's a murderer's row, but if you can get through it, man.
I think it may not be. It may just. I know he plays me. I know he plays your dad. I know he plays. I don't know about Z-Warn, but again, it's Brett. Brett controls everything.
Okay, I like that. And I mean, if you can hit Z-Warn before Jamar Chase gets back, even better. And there's still, if you maybe hit him on the right bye week, an injury or two, like no one's unbeatable in this league this year.
No, he gets Brett, he gets Brent, and he gets Eddie Disler. He does not see Z-Warn, so he sees Ray, Todd, and me, and then he also sees Eddie and Brent 10-10. So that's literally, you couldn't ask for anything better than that. And the ability to control your own destiny. Beat Todd, beat Ray, beat the Rat.
Yeah, I think if we're being realistic at this point, I don't see how either. Eddie's done. Lowest points 4 in the league. Even if he wins out and finishes 7 and 6, he's going to lose on tiebreakers. I don't think you can make up 250 points to catch up to Ray here. You'd have to beat Ray's score by an average of like 30 or 40 points a week. That means he just starts putting up 160 every week and you put up 200 every week. Like that's asking a lot to beat somebody by 30 or 40 points every single week. That is very difficult to do. And I think Brent is technically still in the hunt as his points 4 is within striking range. If he has 2 big spike weeks of like a 260 burger and Ray puts up 170 each week and he gains 180 points like overnight and back-to-back weeks, like it's in the range of outcomes. It's slim, but it's in the range of outcomes. Looks like the supercomputer Watson gives him a 4% chance to make the playoffs. I don't understand how Eddie has the same percent chance as Brent right now. I think Brent has a way better shot with a 130-point lead in the points 4 category. But realistically, I don't think either of these teams, any of these 3 bottom teams, are going to make it, which is really sad for the league, to be honest. So I think these guys are really just here to play spoiler, try and shape destinies, and just gearing up for the toilet bowl. trying to get their roster. You know, I might start buying injured players off teams that are in the hunt and fighting for things just to bolster my roster for the toilet bowl and try and win the toilet bowl championship.
It's gotta suck. It's only 8 weeks. We just literally finished the first Rochambeau of the league.
Bro, it fucking sucks. It's rough. I've never had a worse fantasy season. I've never had a more distracted fantasy season because I've never had as much shit going on in my life. I've never missed waivers as many times as I have. I've never missed setting my lineup at game time as many times as I have this season. It's just with this many kids and this many problems going on in your life, like it's just there's always something that you have to take care of that's a higher in priority than fantasy football.
The last manager with 3 kids quit the league. Just saying. Coincidence?
That's true.
Coincidence? I don't know.
That's true. It's true. Yeah, I ain't going anywhere. Looking to come back next year. And I also had a bad draft strategy looking back at it. I was talking to Peter about this where I really overvalued rookies because I had heard that first-round rookie wide receivers almost always overperform their average draft position. So I went and I got a bunch of rookie wide receivers that were drafted in the first round. But what I didn't account for is that the rookie wide receivers were being drafted higher than they had ever been drafted before. And I found that out a couple weeks after the draft and was like, that could be a reason why my team sucks so bad. So, yeah, it's just one of those where I made a lot of mistakes in the draft, a lot of mistakes on my, I dropped Kenneth Walker the week Rashad Penny went down. If I had Kenneth Walker, I probably win
a lot of matchups.
I think I win I've had a couple of close games in a row. I think with just Kenneth Walker, I think you take probably 2 of those losses, and I'm sitting at 3-5, and I'm feeling scrappy, dude. Like I've fought back from 3-5 before. I can do it again. But nah, 1-7, man. All my energy's gone. I'm so uninspired to even try and compete. So. That's it for the cast today. Brett, you got anything else you want to add?
No, happy to be here and excited for the finish of the year. Looking forward to it. Yeah,
I believe.
Love it.
Amen. Guys, thank you all for listening. Again, thank you to our sponsors, the Missouri Aquarium Society. If you guys go to MissouriAquariumSociety.com and enter promo code Ploy, get your free error message. In honor of our guest, enjoy the pictures of Fish Gerald. See you guys in the next one. Bye.